Okay, let's start then. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are very happy to have you here today. My name is Tony Reyhanloo, and I work as a sustainability manager at Touristik Suisse. Together with Christin Laschinger from Swisscontact and Robert Koni from Manumadi, we are very excited to present you today our Engage project that focuses on preserving cultural heritage and also preparing local communities for sustainable tourism in Flores, Indonesia. As you can see in the line below, this project consists of multiple stakeholders, so ranging from the Swiss Confederation to the Indonesian Ministry of Tourism, Swisscontact and SUSTOUR, Manumadi, Touristik Suisse, and 3 of our brands, including Asia 365, Mantareisen, and Koni. Just before we start, some quick information. So this presentation will be recorded. However, the discussion we will have afterwards will not be recorded, so no personal data or questions will end up in the recording that will be put on the website from the Roundtable Human Rights in Tourism. Please also make sure that you are muted, but of course, if you'd like to, you can leave your camera on, so we are happy to see you, but that's up to you. And of course, if you have any questions or contributions to make, so please just use the chat function and we will address the questions afterwards, after the presentation. Regarding the agenda for today, so it's actually threefold. So first, we're going to quickly introduce ourselves and our companies. So that's Touristik Suisse, SUSTOUR / Swisscontact, and also Manumadi. Afterwards, we're going to look into the different action steps and phases of the Engage project. And eventually, we're going to have a discussion surrounding the question how to preserve cultural heritage, taking the example of Flores in Indonesia, and also by kickstarting the discussion with a local perspective from Robert. About Touristik Suisse, we are a large Swiss tour operator consisting of the brands Koni, Helvetic Tour, as well as the premium specialists, including Kontiki, Asia 365, Mantareisen, and many more. You see all of them down below in the box. As you can also take from this diagram, Touristik Suisse belongs to the Touristik Group and to the travel division of Rewe, which is one of the largest retail and tourism groups in Europe. So together with our network, we fulfill the travel dreams of more than 7 million customers each year. For many years, sustainability has been part of our corporate values and also strategy. Most of our brands are TourSearch certified, and we are also a founding member of the Roundtable Human Rights in Tourism, as well as a member of the Code on Child Protection.
Okay, now it is my turn. Hello and good afternoon also from my side to everyone. Great to be here today. I am Christin Laschinger. I am the project manager of the so-called SUSTOUR project at the Swisscontact in Indonesia. Different to Tony, I am based out of Indonesia. And as mentioned already previously by Tony, so we are together in a partnership with Touristik and also with the other colleague, Robert from Manumadi, on a pilot initiative, which we call Engage. And we will elaborate a little bit further on it in a moment. To start with, I would like to explain a few words about Swisscontact, the organization I am working for and who is part of this Engage project. So we are a Swiss non-profit organization founded back in 1959 and generally a leading partner organization in the implementation of international development projects around the globe. As you can see on this map below on the slide, we are currently active in a couple of countries, 39 countries with 117 projects around the world. And we aim to promote economic, social, and ecological development in developing and emerging economies. And as you can see on the right side of the slide, there we have 3 focus areas, which are categorized as people, enterprise, and economy, basically meaning that we aim to improve employability of people, competitiveness of enterprises, and also economic and social systems for a more inclusive development that we foster. On the next slide, we can see a little bit more in detail about the SUSTOUR project. So we are a tourism destination development project, as the name says. We stand for sustainable tourism, SUSTOUR, and we are one of those 117 projects that I mentioned just earlier. We are implementing the project in Indonesia, and you can see here on the right side of the slide, there's two main destinations or two main locations in Indonesia where we are active. Those are Wakatobi and Flores. I will later on explain a little bit more about this. SUSTOUR in general aims to promote sustainable tourism, obviously, in those destinations, and as such also provide a contribution towards a more higher quality tourism development in Indonesia. We have two major components, one working on the policy side, on conducive policy framework development, and also on the product and service side. On the next slide, we have a couple of pictures for you that represent the two destinations where we are active. The first one is Wakatobi, which was on the northeastern part on the map. Wakatobi is a well-known diving destination, actually. A relatively small and remote island destination, but a very rich underwater world with a lot of magnificent diving and snorkeling sites. It's also a national park and part of the World Coral Triangle. It's besides that, you can also see pictures of people. So there, it also has a rich local culture and also an interesting history. Besides Wakatobi, on the next slide, we have some impressions about Flores, the other island where we are active. Most of you, I'm sure, might know the Komodo dragons and the Komodo National Park. This is actually where they have their home. So on the left side here on the map, and this is the Komodo National Park. Yet, besides the Komodo National Park, this island of Flores has much more to offer. It's a very beautiful natural island with a lot of cultural diversity and history. So there is a lot of unspoiled nature, traditional villages, and opportunities to see and experience cultural activities. And this is where we also have our focus of the Engage project. So it focuses on the Flores Island outside of the Komodo National Park on this route that you see in pink. And we will see in the next slides a little bit more in detail what this project entails. Now we can move on to the next slide, which I will hand over to my colleague, Robert.
Okay, it is my turn now, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody from Bali. Yeah, my name is Robert Koni, and Sales and Product Manager of Manumadi Tour and Travel. And it's really great for me to be here this afternoon. Well, Manumadi Travel, known as the East Nusa Tenggara Specialist, which is mostly selling the package to discover Flores Island, Komodo Island, Alor, Timor, Sumba, with the main offices in Bali, and we have a branch office in Labuan Bajo, West Flores. Actually, this Manumadi is a Dutch Indonesian company combined, which is Mr. Adrian Evers and Mr. Rian Bakhtiar as the owner of the company. Together with our sister company, Caraka Travelindo, which is based in Makassar, South Sulawesi, we are all focused on the east part of Indonesia. And we divide it into two parts. South of Equator is on Manumadi responsibility, Bali, Lombok, or Lesser Sunda Island, and the north part of Equator, like Papua, Moluccas, Sulawesi, will be handled by our sister company, Caracat Reyhanloo. And we are both the local handle of their Touristik for Flores and Sulawesi. Back to Tony.
Perfect. So thank you very much for the introductions. So we have this slide sort of as to put it into a nutshell, how the Engage project, what are the phases, the action steps. So as you can see, it consists of 6 phases, which we're going to elaborate on in the following. So first, we started with envisioning project goals. We then identified the key stakeholders in the specific context and the supply chain of Flores in Indonesia. And afterwards, we conducted a feasibility study in Flores, identifying gaps with regard to the goals we envisioned in the first place. So as a result of that, we then developed authentic products and carried out trainings with the local communities in preparation for the sustainable tourism. And you see the last 2 phases, they actually mark where we stand today. So regarding marketing and promotion, as well as setting up a future monitoring and quality assurance system. But this just as an overview. We're going to look now into each different step in the following. So let's start at the beginning with the main idea of Engage. So what we wanted to do is to develop with all key stakeholders so-called Engage products in Flores with the claim travel as usual with positive impact. So in other words, this means that we wanted to enable our customers to experience Flores in the most authentic way, while also making positive contributions to the following sustainability goals. So as you can see in the slide, so the first sustainability goals, they are sort of like the overarching theme, which is a sustainable and participatory market and tourism development, which we want to promote with this project and the products. So participatory means in this case that each key stakeholder is involved, or as we like to call it in our team, is engaged in that sense. And this also should lead then to the second point, to a higher local value, job creation, and also a higher standard of living in Florence, as well as that comes along with the project as well is also that the tourism-related education and vocational trainings will be provided for the local communities, while also, protecting the cultural heritage. But we are going to talk about this also in a minute. And of course, you see the last point, a partnership for the goals. Of course, none of us could do these goals by themselves or achieve them. We can only achieve these goals as a common effort. So this was more the theoretical part of the project goals. So what does this actually mean in practice? It's actually sort of threefold. So the first point is really the promotion of the Trans-Flores route that Christine just mentioned before with the graph, is to really increase the local value creation. The second point is, as we also mentioned, is to really have this participatory product development between the different key stakeholders. And thirdly, also providing the trainings for the local communities to really prepare for the expectations of sustainable tourism. And as I said, we can only achieve these goals together. So we try to illustrate this sort of complex value chain on this slide. So this is actually the supply chain for Indonesia and Flores. So starting maybe on the left side, you can see in red, we have their Touristik Suisse, together with the network we have from the Touristik group. So in this box, you can actually see the 3 main brands that already or will sell the products in Flores and Indonesia. So this is actually Manta Reisen, our diving specialist. It's Asia 365, so the specialist for Asia, and also Koni. So in Indonesia and also for Flores, we, as mentioned before from Robert, we also work closely with our DMC in Indonesia, Manumadi.
Yes, as the local partner of their Touristik, we make sure that all the bookings from their Touristik and other partner in Europe go through the local community and they confirm the booking and well prepare until the guests coming to their village. Also, besides that, we also make sure the service are going according to the program. So our job is to educate the local people, and then after the trip, we share the guest comment or experience, what to improve or what need to be added on their activities. And besides that, the local community is also fully supported by the local government and the local training providers, which is also supported by our SUSTOUR as a chain maker.
Okay, then now I'm going to explain a little bit the role of SUSTOUR, or us as an NGO in this process. So we, as an NGO or as a temporary project, so to say, we in this process have the role of a facilitator, or we could also say an enabler or a change maker, as Robert just mentioned. So we are basically out of this supply chain of their Touristik and Manumadi as an outsider towards facilitating the process and supporting with linking, networking, putting people together, putting organizations and institutions together that previously have not yet been in contact, which is could be the local governments, the local training service providers. It's also the communities and Manumadi. Everything with the overall aim to basically encourage a more sustainable supply chain of their Touristik in Indonesia. So we are the actors behind the scene and support with issues that are part of the project. It could be training material development, it could be meetings, it could be workshops. So wherever it is needed to link into the process, there we are. And perhaps this is also the step, yes, where I can show you on the next slide, where we started to actually had a more prominent role. And this was then in part 3 of the process that Koni explained previously. This is here the feasibility study, or also we could say an inspection trip. So this trip was done in 2019, before COVID still, together with the brand, or together with Asia 365, the general manager Ruud Landolt, and Robert, who is here with us today from Manumadi, and also some people from my team. So the aim was basically to identify new additional locations in Flores that could become a new product offer for the market. And we inspected various places, various sites, and in the end came up with a selection of three potential places and attractions. All of them, I have to highlight, are linked to a community, to the local people that live or that are part of this districts, and they are integrated into the products. So we have 3 products, as you can see here. One product that is really covering the entire island, we could say, and other two products that are more shorter in duration and in the program, and can become day trips from Labuan Bajo, from Komodo National Park, or extended 1 night or 2 night trips. All of them have a focus, as I mentioned, on community development, or integrating the local people as a subject basically into the whole program, and together with them creating attractions, activities and services that can then be linked to Manumadi and their Touristik. Perhaps we can see on the next slide how the process was facilitated. how we started the process off. So after the inspection was done and the places were selected, and also the shortcomings or the bottlenecks and the challenges of each products were known. Then basically Manumadi and also their Touristik linked more closely to the communities, engaged before COVID offline, then COVID came more through online meetings. But the point was of direct connections between the tour operator, between the agent and the local communities, to transfer the knowledge of quality standards, sustainability standards, and issues that would facilitate a market-oriented product as part of it. As you can see here, also we have integrated a communication and feedback mechanism directly between the communities and the tour operators to make sure a fluid booking process, basically, with Manumadi. We can also see on the next slide that, of course, not everything can be handled directly by the tour operator or by Manumadi or by their Touristik in this sense, because a tour operator is not a training service provider per se. So here we have connected another actor in, a local training service provider who is experienced in community development. And together with them, we have developed an intensive coaching program. It's called COCOS, Community Coaching Program, that runs parallel with the sessions with Manumadi to really deepen the knowledge of the communities in tourism development, in sustainable tourism development, and also in aspects related to the specific products. On the next slide, we could see an overview of those courses or modules, we could call them. It's like a menu of different options available, and they can then be selected based on the needs of the product or of the communities. For sure, it needs to involve the basics of sustainable tourism, village organizational development, basic financial literacy, the tour packages themselves, guiding, because the locals should also be part of actually explaining about what they have to offer in terms of cultural diversity and natural attractions. Culinary products are part. It might be that they have guests have breakfast, have a lunch, or even a dinner at the place. Waste management obviously also needs to be part, and in some cases even a homestay or a guest house management. But it really depends on the product and can be allocated as according to the needs. I think in the next slide we also have a couple of impressions on how the process has been going the last 1.5 years, we could say. So one of the products includes Velolos. Velolos is the name of a community and of a location close by Labuan Bajo, so it can be reached in a day trip. It's a beautiful natural environment in the highlands. And here you can see some of the training and coaching sessions that's been facilitated by our partner, the training service provider locally. On the next slide, and it's similar. We don't need to go into the details. So it's all about the process, how it's been implemented. So it's a long-term coaching program basically that really connects the people with the provider and with Manumadi to continuously see how the product development is going on and where inputs are needed. The next slide is the other product, another village. The same thing, a different focus. It has a strong, how can I say, a strong local product background. So they grow coffee, a lot of fruit, and a lot of interesting flora and fauna. So this is then the focus of the third product. On the next slide, we can see an overview of the entire process, just to imagine it again a little bit easier. So it's 5 steps. The first step was the engagement at the beginning, so the inspection trip, or even before the inspection trip, where the community is engaged with Manumadi and with their Touristik, and we identified where are the bottlenecks and the challenges. Then in the next step, the product development starts, the trainings and the coachings are being provided as in line with the sustainability and the quality standards. In the third step, the communities would start to apply it slowly but surely. So this is more of a long-term process. And in the fourth step, then once the product is final, so to say, Manumadi would start selling and offering it to their Touristik and to the other partners, basically. As a fifth step, this is then related to the communities and totally optional. In case they feel ready, they could also apply for national awards that are available here in Indonesia that relate to sustainability. On the next slide, yeah, now comes the last step, the marketing and promotion. And I think this is more related to Toni. So I will hand over again to Toni to explain this.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So the next step is, of course, to communicate and to sell the engaged products. And this is actually where we stand today. So due to the pandemic, of course, we also faced some delay in the later project phases. But as the engaged products are ready in that sense, we already promote them within our network. So also online as well as offline. As you can see on these pictures, they're also already in the catalogs and brochures of Asia 365 and Koni. And of course, for the future, we also want to implement feedback mechanisms to really ensure continuous quality assurance. So this means that we do not want to stop after the pilot project in Flores, but also really look into, for example, where are the bottlenecks, where is the room for improvement, because sustainable development is not a final state, but more so a journey. So, and in summary, we believe that these are the success factors for promoting sustainable tourism while also putting people first. So, obviously, first of all, it's all about collaboration and cooperation in our case. So none of us could have ever achieved these complex goals or are going to achieve these complex goals alone. So we really have to work together. And we also believe that different stakeholders have different contributions to make to positive change, which we think is also a very important factor to consider. Secondly, of course, it's also very important to have a common vision and mission, that really everybody is working towards the same defined goals. And change doesn't happen overnight. So it's all about really having a long-term perspective and really wanting to push further the systemic change. So as you have seen in the previous slide with the different sustainable development goals from the UN, we really try to work on as many goals as possible to really push the systemic change. And of course, it's also all about giving the key stakeholders a voice. So really fostering stakeholder participation and expectation management along the supply chain. And lastly, it's also all about trust and passion for positive change from all stakeholders involved. And I think in the case of our Engage Flores project, it was very telling and really nice to see how everybody was really working passionately and still believing in the Engage project during these, let's say, turbulent times. So we arrived already at the end of our presentation, which we want to conclude with this symbolic picture of deep diving, as we are planning to expand our Flores project to new destinations, which would be next to the islands of Wakatobi. But that is a story and a presentation for another day. Thank you very much for your attention.